Hello, I'm Ron. Welcome to my studio. In part two of this series on how to make a woodblock print, I will be showing you how I carved the woodblock, and from the woodblock, I created an artist proof that will eventually become an addition. So now it's time to start carving the woodblock, and the various tools that I have are I have these tools, which is a U-shape. It will do a U-shaped groove, and I generally do that for broad areas where I want to take out large areas of wood. I also have V-shape. These are V-shape uh, cutters and carvers, and these are for really fine lines, and you can get them really small also. So you can do some very small, fine line type of carving. But my favorite tool to use out of this whole thing is a grafting knife. It's so sturdy, and uh, I can really get some detail using this grafting knife. So this happens to be my favorite knife. Now, because I'm old and my eyes have gone, I'm using a jeweler's hat right now, and for magnifying, and I get pretty close when I do the carving. So I'll try to get an angle for you that you can see some of the carving that I'm going to do. Okay, it's time to start doing some carving on this wood block. I've already done a little bit of carving in here. You can kind of see, you can see the discoloration in here. And I'm going to continue doing more carving and talk about a little bit about my process. So like I said, I like using these. I can get down really close, look at the carving that I'm going to be doing. Now, generally speaking, I'm going to be using this tool. This tool is, as you can see, this tool is sharp on one side and then flat on the other. Actually, it's a little bit of a concave in here. So when I do cut, I'm cutting with the the line on this side so that when I cut, it doesn't damage the line area. You'll see as I work on this. Let's do this little part in here. In woodblock print, you can do organic lines, but generally speaking, we end up doing a lot more straight lines, which gives it a different flavor and a different kind of mark making that you can't get in any other type of medium. So all I'm doing is cutting around the line. Okay, and then to relieve it, then I just cut inside that line and it pulls it right up. See that? So basically, I'm going to do that process through the whole piece. And just enjoy the woodworking aspect of it. Now, years ago, I used to do most of my carving using the V-shaped carves, the carving tools, or the rounder curved carving tools, and that can be done that way. But I found that by using the knife, I can get much more detailed line work in and not be really governed by the two-edge side of this of each of these. They work really well um, for certain textures, uh, but I found that this really kind of works the best for getting into the intricacies of this. Now, what I'll do for areas that still have like interior wood, I'll use the carved wood and just remove that. That's that works really well, really easy to do that, and I'm not worried about the double-edged nature of these tools. And so I have all this area here I can clean up using this tool. So I'm going to continue working on this, and when there's areas of particular interest, like how I do the foliage, how I'm going to do the soil, um, then we'll stop and talk about that a little bit. But until then, I'm just going to continue working on this and getting it ready for printing. Now, I am not sure whether you can tell how much I've done in here, but pretty much this much area is done. And now I'm going to work on the foliage. And I'm going to work on the foliage much like I did the others. I'm going to use my knife for that. For clearing out, I can use my curved um, chisel. But in most cases, it just has to do with being patient and persevere and just, again, go around uh, the lines, and the white areas, the lighter areas are the areas that I'm going to essentially remove. And so you put on some good music and you just start working on it. And it's part of the idea of a hobby, an art, something that you can spend your time to and enjoying the process. I also realized after looking at this, I could spend a little bit more time on the drawing. And so there's no reason for me to avoid going back and drawing over this a little bit more in regards to what I like. So I think I'd like this to be a little more solid down here. Maybe a little bit more in this area. There, I think that looks a little bit better. There's also another trick too. You can use a silver Sharpie if you want to add additional areas of relief. So this process is a relief process as opposed to an intaglio process. So you're relieving your medium, whether it's it doesn't matter what it is. It could be linoleum, it can be wood, it could be plastic, it could be glass. You're relieving it, and then what I'm going to do is print what's on top, as opposed to an etching where you're printing what you've etched. All right, so I think that it's a little more satisfying. So we'll work on this area the way I redid it. I wanted to talk about what it means to bring the background into the foreground. And you do this as a compositional element. There, you can create distance by overlapping. You can see that when we did this overlapping here, where the trunk is in front of foliage in the back. It gives depth. But I also like the transition of the background moving into the foreground. And so you'll notice that I don't have to draw an outline of my foliage pad. I can actually leave gaps and spaces so that the background bleeds in to the 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 foliage pad. You see these passageways, and so these are like little gateways or little ways that your eyes will be easily transition into it. And I have it throughout the whole drawing. These little passages that move into the pads, and so I feel like that's very important. And I'm getting to the area where I'll be carving those areas out. And so you'll notice that it's not necessarily always an outline of the pad. There are spaces so that your eye moves into the pad. I've progressed pretty far with this. I've currently finished the area around the trunk and the foliage pads. And now I'm going to move on to the soil. Okay, finished the soil. That's looking really good. Finished all this area. Now it's time to work on the pot. But I have to be very steady when I do the pot. It has to be a very nice line and not wavery, where I can do that in these areas and no one really can tell. That's just one trick to the trade, is to make very erratic lines, and it doesn't really seem to really stand out. But once you have to have a very clean line, people can see that right away. So let's see how that goes. Okay, I've completed all the detail areas. Now it's time to go around the periphery and then remove the negative space. And when I remove the negative space, then I'll be able to use my larger chisel to remove that area. After I'm done, I'm going to do a artist proof and see how the carving looks, and then make any decisions on any additional carving that I need to do. So now I've done everything I wanted to do. I've taken out all the negative space, and I've got everything to where I want to do an artist proof. And that'll tell me if I have to do anything more as far as carving. So let's do that. Okay, I wanted to give a quick demo on how I ink up my woodblock here. I prepare my ink by using a spatula there. And what you do is you warm up the ink. Once I'm satisfied with the viscosity of the ink, then I'm going to load up my brayer. I have this large brayer that I like a lot, and you want to evenly distribute the ink on this brayer. Then I'll apply an even layer of ink on top of the woodblock print. And so this is the example of how it is as a relief and how I use the edge to support the brayer, so I don't worry about the background getting any ink on it. But you'll see that once I do this, there will be some areas that still show up in the background, and I'm going to want to clean that up. So I've been soaking some paper here, and generally around 15 minutes is fine. And I'll put that between two towels and then roll over those towels and get the excess water off of the paper. This makes the paper pliable, and in woodblock printing you end up with some embossing techniques because of this. And it picks up the ink nicely. On a piece of plexiglass, I've registered where the woodblock goes. I've also registered where the paper goes. And so what I'll do is I'll line up the paper. Since this is a single print, I don't worry too much about registration, but I'll line that up. And then once that's lined up properly, I'll cover it in order to protect the blankets on the press, and I'll run it through my press. I have a large mechanical press here, but you could actually use a spoon to do this by just rubbing the back of the paper. So I'll run this through the press. Okay, after running through the press, you can see how the paper has been embossed over the woodblock, and you end up with your artist proof. Okay, everything came out really nice. The foliage, the trunk, the soil line, the pot. I like everything that I see here. There's a couple of areas that I might want to clean up, and the shadow I really like, the edges I like. And I didn't carve the background as fully as I could have, because I wanted you to see that the background carved areas can actually come up with patterns and textures that you could use in your work. In this case, I want more of a silhouette of the tree, and I'm going to be working with the background on subsequent videos. So I'll go back and start carving away the background more. Okay, I'm done with the background, carving that out. Now it's time to do another artist proof and see if we can get into production printing. This is the image that I got after I cleaned up the background. I'll make a limited edition of 100 prints off of this, but I will also be doing some monotypes. That is, I'll be changing up the background. And for my next video, I'll show you how I go about doing that. If you have any questions in regards to what I've shown you in part 2, please feel free to comment or contact me. I'll also be posting a companion blog on my website for those who would like to explore this stage of the process in written form. If you're interested in purchasing any of my prints or monoprints, you can do so through the website. But until next time, I'd like to leave you with a quote from Picasso, who said, "I am always doing what I cannot do yet in order to learn how to do it."